Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to this final event of the Living Business brought to you by HSBC and Globally. My name is David Ramos, I'm from the sustainability team of HSBC and I'm here with Keith from Globally, and we're going to tell you what happened today in this final event, and maybe Keith, you can tell us a little bit about the program and what is it about?
So Living Business is a program which encourages businesses to be more sustainable. We've been working to support them in starting their sustainability journeys, or maybe accelerating the pace at which they're becoming more sustainable. The program is based around an ESG framework, so the companies need to do a project under one of the three ESG pillars, be it the environment, be it social, or be it governance. And many of the companies have actually done projects under more than one of the pillars. But those are the pillars for the framework. And as I say, to qualify for the program this year, companies must deliver a project, or at least substantially start a project in 2020 that's going to have a meaningful impact on their ESG and their sustainable future. Today we've had 4 jurors here looking at the top 10 of the companies who were enrolled in the program. The program is split into 3 categories. There's one for small businesses, one for mid-market companies, and one for corporates. And the jurors have chosen the winners for each category. So I'm be very excited to see what's been going on there with the jurors.
Okay. And
we also over the last 3 weeks, we've also been running a public voting, where the public has been able to vote on which of the companies has done, in the public's view, done the most to become more sustainable. So we'll also be announcing those winners too.
So we know already what happened, but the listeners don't yet.
Indeed.
So we're going to take them through the whole event. It was a very exciting day for us that we were very involved in this program, and we want to take you all through it, and you're going to see a little bit of what happened during the day and conversations that the jurors and the companies had as well.
So actually, David, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about HSBC, why HSBC brought this program to the Middle East. I know it's part of a very broad sustainability program where I think there's about 30 projects that the sustainability team at HSBC supports. Tell us more about that.
So the Living Business has been running in Hong Kong, in HSBC Hong Kong, for more than 16 years. And we decided this year to bring it to this region because we thought there was a good opportunity to bring it on. And as you say, yeah, it is part of a wider sustainability agenda of HSBC. So sustainability in HSBC is divided in 2 main areas. One is sustainable finance, and that's what we do as a financial institution with our commercial business, how we support our clients on those sustainability deals with financing. And then it's the philanthropic arm of what we do. That philanthropic arm is divided in 2 subsections, if you want to call it. One is what we do around future skills and how are we supporting our communities as well as our employees for the future of work, for all these changes that we are living through. And then we also have a very strong entrepreneurship pillar where we support companies that are either sustainable or they want to become sustainable. And we do that again from our philanthropic programs. So this is where the Living Business fits in this program. And to tell you a little bit of other programs that we also supported this year, we just finished the Target Climate program in collaboration with Emirates Nature, WWF. And that program was more focused on supporting companies into helping them calculate their carbon emissions and how to reduce them afterwards. Earlier this year, we supported as well the Technology Innovation Pioneer program in collaboration with the Environment Agency in Abu Dhabi and with the Department of Economic Development. And just to mention one more, and probably last but not least, we are just starting very soon our 3rd year of the C3 Social Impact Accelerator, who is supporting those companies that they have really kind of these social enterprise roots very, very well deep into what they do. And those companies, they get selected and they go through a training program, and they have the opportunity to talk to investors, they do board simulations, and there is a kind of a few months program that they go through. So that's a little bit of HSBC. Of course, I didn't want this to be about HSBC, so let's bring it back to the living business. And I'm sure it has been a very exciting year for you. So can you just tell us a little bit of the highlights of the program and what happened?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to, David. It has been a very interesting year, obviously. We started off the year with a kick-off event in February, and on the back of that we had about over 50 companies registered to be part of the program. About 25 of them have stuck with the program through COVID and through what has been for many companies quite a difficult year. And they've developed some really interesting projects. And we're going to be showing you 10 of those projects today. So I'm really excited to be doing that. For me personally, one of the most exciting things about the program is working with businesses and actually seeing them making real change. It's really fulfilling. It's very fulfilling to see that the program is helping companies make a real difference by just encouraging them to do things that they wanted to do anyway, but in the midst of being sort of very busy running their own businesses and dealing with COVID and making sure they've got revenue coming in and all of that, they don't always have the resources and the time to put on sustainability. So this program is really about tipping them over the edge and getting them to actually make something happen, rather than just postponing it for the next year.
So I think it's a good time to introduce the jury now. We have two from HSBC and two externally. From HSBC we have Sabrine Rahman, who's the regional head of sustainability, and we have Mike Davis, who's the head of corporate and commercial banking for the UAE.
And from outside of HSBC we have Jeremy Crane, who's the founder and CEO of Yellow Door Energy, and Sean McHugh, who's the director of construction at ALEC. So I guess now we should introduce the companies. We're going to show a 1-minute video for each company to give you a flavour of who they are and what they've been doing this year as part of the programme. And the first company we've got teed up with their video is Wood Floors Middle East.
Perfect. That's it.
We have this year purchased about 38 cubic meters of FSC plywood, and we will be placing another order for approximately 38 to 40 cubic meters of plywood for the projects in the UAE. What we did is that we informed the customers saying that it's a FSC plywood and it would cost a little bit more, but what we have done is that we have been able to absorb that cost, and we also recycle leftover pieces of the wood that we use, the timber that we use in the market locally, so that we are able to help the sustainability program. We are also using a product which is recycled felt that we are protecting the flooring. To protect the flooring where we have installed the flooring, so they are new, but we need to do the protection. This is a product which is recycled and reused, and again, that is also a LEED compliant product. It comes from Germany, and it also protects the flooring from any kind of damages with the water spillages and dropping of a hammer or using a scaffolding and so on at site. So, and again, this product is reusable. I can clean it, take it, keep it back and reuse it, and we decided that if we take a group insurance, it would help them if something were to happen to their life or any kind of accident.
So that's interesting about wood floors. I like the video. It's very interesting to see that they're working both on the E and the S of the ESG, and I will really be interested in seeing the conclusions of the jury and the conversations that they have.
Yes, it's a nice company and very committed to sustainability. Yep. Next up we have Mateen Mitchell and Company.
Mateen Mitchell and Company is a boutique executive search firm based in the UAE, based in Dubai. We focus on recruiting board members, CEOs, members of the C-suite. We were able to reduce our carbon emissions by 60% by taking out air travel, by going towards a paperless office, by reducing consumption on city back and forth travel by car, and also going to a cloud-based solution for our technology. Criteria for selecting a partner from whom we could buy carbon credits was really quite a simple one. It was to work with a partner in the United Arab Emirates, and it was for us working with Jess was just a logical decision. Here it was an organization that was working with the municipality of Dubai, was doing good for the community in Dubai. So we saw it as being a win-win. So here we are, a Dubai-based entity working with a Dubai partner.
This waste, as it decomposes, it generates gas, which is methane. Methane is harmful to the environment. It's 27 times more harmful than CO2. So this project that we're doing here is to reduce the impact of methane from landfill gas to the atmosphere.
So we've heard probably over the last 2 years a lot of companies going net zero. Even us, HSBC, we did our announcement less than a month ago of our net zero commitment. So it's good to see that not only the big companies are doing it, but also small companies like Metti Mitchell, they are also doing that commitment. It's fantastic news.
Yeah, and the next video is from Energy GCC, and I'm really excited for the project they've been doing.
As Radisson Blue Directory, traditionally we used to use diesel-powered steam generator, which heat up the hot water. Then we come up across a thermodynamic system. Then we switched into thermodynamic system, and the result was fantastic, and we are quite happy.
So what you have here is a thermodynamic solar system. We are providing hot water to the tanks, and the system works as following. The panels are absorbing the sun radiance and the heat of the elements. That energy is transferred for a refrigeration system that then goes inside the tanks and transfer to the water, the energy, and then comes back in a closed loop into the panels, okay, until we meet the temperature that we desire inside. In the first 6 months, there was 160,000 dirhams in savings. That corresponds to around 83% in the overall, comparing with the previous diesel boiler.
I was very pleased to have the opportunity to go to the Radisson Blue in Dera on the Creek. It's a very old hotel, it's a big hotel, and they've put this in quite a small space. Well, you've seen it on the video, it really is amazing how that small thing can produce so much hot water.
Yeah.
For almost nothing. I mean, there's very little energy required to make the whole system run.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, energy is one of the hot topics around sustainability and climate change and all of that. Energy efficiency in buildings is clearly one of the things that we have to do better in this region and globally. So it's good to see that companies are working on that sphere. And well, I think the jury must be almost ready we are almost ready to announce what the jury decided. But how about we first go into the public voting for the small business category?
Yes, so during the first 3 weeks of November, we had a week for each public voting. And the small business category, we had about 300 votes from the public.
That's good.
And one company got 119 of those votes, and that company is Wood Floors.
Yay, fantastic. So good work to Leslie and the team for Wood Floors.
Yes.
And yeah, great to know. Let's see if the jury agrees with that public voting decision.
Indeed, it'll be very interesting to know if they have the same opinion.
Well, welcome to Living Business, which has been run on behalf of all the team at HSBC by the team from globally. You've just witnessed the judging process, so the judging has now been done, but we thought we'd want to give you a little bit more insight into that process. We know what we set out to do. We wanted to see how UAE-based businesses had become more sustainable for themselves, for the wider community, maybe for their industry as well, and how we can help them as well. So they've pitched their ideas to the judges. We're looking for commitment, we're looking for societal and environmental impact from the choices they were making. We were looking at tangible change as well. That was something that also needed to be seen. And it would have helped as well if there was a little bit of a financial investment which was borne out as well. All these factors and many, many more were thrown into the mix for our elite panel of judges. The numbers have now been crunched, but let's dig a little deeper. Anyone that's watched a version of Big Brother around the world will know that any Big Brother needs a little Big Brother, a little offshoot program where we sort of dive into the voting process. So let's call this that little living business if we can for now. Absolute pleasure to be joined by Mike from HSBC, Jeremy from Yellow Door Energy to get to the bottom of the small business category. Mike, before we dive into the individual contenders, if you like, for this, overall, in terms of level of the pitches, in terms of the ideas that you've seen this afternoon?
So I think all three were great. It's good to see SMEs involved in this sector. SMEs obviously a very important part of the UAE economy. And it's good to see small businesses looking at this sort of stuff. And in some cases, we've got small businesses here really trying to carve out a niche in sort of environmentally sustainable products. So I thought that was a real positive.
Yeah. And Jeremy, would you concur with that?
Absolutely. I think the passion that people have to do this, whether it drives extra differentiation or value for them or not, the passion that comes across and wanting to make a change, wanting to have an impact is great.
Just, I mean, on that point, because obviously both of you have got an insight into to how difficult it is to get ideas like this off the ground, not just here, but around the world at the moment as well. And we've looked at it from three categories. Obviously, we've got the big corporates, we've got the mid-market. The one that we're talking about specifically here is small business. Is it more difficult for a smaller organisation to implement these sort of changes, or is it more difficult for some of the big guns?
Look, I feel that change is obviously easier in a small organization, but the resources are constrained.
Yeah.
So to have a significant impact and make a significant change really takes strong commitment from the leaders of these businesses. And we heard from them today how committed they are to making a change, and that's exciting. Right?
Yeah.
If these guys are doing it, if that's going to be perpetrated into the other small businesses in the region, that would be fantastic.
What did you take away from the pitch from Wood Floors?
So he's clearly, he's running a business, but he's clearly invested in taking that business to a more sustainable footprint. He's almost creating a new space with recycled wood and sort of certified wood products in the UAE. And speaking to him, it doesn't sound like that market's there yet. And more often than not, he's got customers that come in that are looking for something, and he has to change their mind or almost upsell them to the product, to the more sustainable product. And the fact that he's not looking to just make the easy sale, but the more sustainable, more, earth-friendly sale, that passion comes through and that interest comes through. I think that's really important.
Jeremy, just to this though, and there was a lot to take away from Leslie's presentation, but it's wood after all. It's wood becoming a sort of wood product as well. And when we're talking all things sustainability, surely there's a bit of question mark there.
There could be, and I think he really got to something that we all question, right? Wood versus plastic or other alternatives for flooring are something that maybe all of us make a decision when we're redoing our kitchen, and he showed us that you can do wood sustainably. So for every tree that he consumes, 10 are planted. So you can actually have a positive impact using his product. That I felt was significant, and we know that wood decomposes. We know that wood is positive in the long run. So I thought he had a very compelling proposition.
In terms of the potential negative, again, I don't want to use this word, there's enough negativity around at the moment, we don't need any more, that's for sure. In terms of areas for growth, because again, I'm conscious of the fact, small business, not a huge amount of resources behind this, and they've obviously invested into this new product and technology, so there is a belief behind it. Any advice you can proffer in terms of moving forward?
Look, I think the segment's not quite there yet. I think he probably needs to work with his sort of off-takers to make sure that they're creating demand as well. So if he's the only one creating demand for his product, that's difficult. But if he's got some of the bigger developers who are also sort of advertising the fact that they've got sustainable wood products, sustainable wood flooring in their buildings, that could help create demand for the product more broadly. So that might be an idea for him. I know it's very difficult to create your own market by yourself, right? You need help.
What we think around the little living business table doesn't mean or reflect, of course, what will be unfolding with the results a little later on. There were 4 judges, each with their independent and private voting, so the results will be revealed in just a few moments' time. Let's, though, in the meantime, move on to our first digital virtual background of the proceedings. The man that had the epiphany was, of course, Meetin from Meetin Mitchell and Co. He's going all carbon neutral. He's decided he's had enough of getting onto planes. Let's start with you, Jeremy. How did you read or view this one?
Look, clearly he's got a commitment. He talked about his epiphany, and I think we've all been through something like that over the last few months, where we realize, hey, by not traveling to meetings, I can create more time, I can perhaps accomplish more. I think the question that we all asked ourselves is that something that he's going to continue doing afterwards? Is his business going to be sustainable doing this afterwards? When his competitors are out there shaking hands and in front of people, in front of the clients he's hunting to make a change.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. He mentioned carbon credits a lot, Mike, in this one, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I understand or own the world of carbon credits. But again, was there enough balancing act to sort of put the advantages towards carbon credits on this one?
So I thought it was a really interesting business. I thought it was an interesting business model. The changes he's trying to make now to get to sort of a zero carbon footprint, in buying carbon credits to get down to zero, I think that's great. I think he also has a plan to actually further reduce his carbon footprint. One of the interesting things, and I don't think we got a chance to ask him, but will he get more business from that? Will he? Because you don't see many recruiting firms positioning themselves as the green recruiting firm. So as large banks like ourselves and other corporations become more aware of ESG and ESG commitments, are we more likely to use him than we would, say, another large recruiting firm that may not have made that commitment? I'd like to think yes, but I guess we'll see. Time will tell.
I think the one really strong element that he put forward is he's actually investing in buying these carbon credits.
Yeah.
He's got money out of his pocket that he's putting behind this. And now, will he, if he starts flying again, buy more to offset his additional carbon footprint? I think that's something that it would really be telling for us if we could see into the future.
That was Meaton of Meaton, Mitchell & Co. He was up second, and we've got one more for you as well. Hugo was the third of our three finalists for the small business category at this year's Living Business, brought to you by put in process by the team from HSBC and action by all the crew globally. Energy, GCC, as soon as I saw thermodynamics, I was like, wow, I need to do a little bit more research on this one. But it was fascinating, really, from my point of view, from someone who doesn't fully understand the technology behind it, except making ice whilst it's really warm outside. I thought that was fascinating. The scalability that he talked about afterwards seemed to be something that was really interesting to me, Jeremy. You're a man in the know, you're a man on the coalface here when it comes to this sort of technology. Is it going to work, and how much did this impress you?
Look, he's attacked one of the really nasty problems. Anyone who's walked behind a hotel in our region sees the black soot from this oil burner. They burn oil to make hot water, and that's dirty. And he's removing that. And yes, this technology does work, right? So he's using the hot air that we know we have, and the sun that we know we have, and he's combining them together to get savings for a hospital. Anyone who needs hot water can benefit from this. And I think so. The technology works. He's saving 80% of the CO2 for making hot water. So that's good. And the question is, can he implement this on a scale where he's going to have a big impact? You know, he talked about, I think, 7 or 8 installations so far. Will he be able to find economically viable solutions across the huge need there is in the Middle East?
You put that question to him, Mike, during the questioning as well, the scalability issue. Were you convinced by the answer?
So I thought it was really interesting. I wanted to know how long it would take if I, as a villa owner, decided to put his technology on my roof, right?
Yeah.
How quickly. And that 2.5 year time period he talked about in Dubai, I think that's really impressive, right? And if you can get that messaging out, Dubai's an interesting one. We have a lot of renters, so they tend not to invest in things like this. But as we see more property owners and more developments with property owners coming in, I think he's got a product that might really work.
Now though, let's hand over to Keith, David and the rest of the team to find out who has come out on top for this year's Living Business, Small Business category winner.
So it seems like Tom has left it to us to announce the winners.
Yep.
Very happy to do that. The second runner-up was Mateen Mitchell and Company.
The first runner-up was Energy.
Energy. So it sounds like the jury panel agreed with the public voting,
Indeed.
and the winner is
Wood Floors Middle East.
Wood Floors Middle East. Fantastic. Well done, Leslie and team.
Well done to them, indeed.
So next we move on to the mid-market category. And the first contestant in that category is Green Parking. So let's watch their video.
We have started in 2020 to introduce ticketless smart parking operations that we have started to operate in the first of our car parks, and that would allow us to reduce 3 million paper tickets per year, which is equivalent to 50 trees that we can save per year. And over the life cycle of a parking system, which is on average 10 years, we're able to reduce 2,500 trees. In addition to that, by introducing this smart parking services, we are able to shorten the average staying time per car in our car parks by 4 minutes. So this shorter period of time translates into around 74 tons of CO2 emissions that we can save per year.
So it's great to see that after the video that technology and innovation comes in forms of sustainability as well to most daily activities, like just going to a parking and park your car. It's fantastic news.
It is. The whole world is changing, and hopefully the whole world is becoming more sustainable.
Yep.
So we're now going from electronic parking to making electronic transformers. We're going to watch a video from ETS and see what they've been doing to reduce their steel scrap.
What we originally thought was good productivity, the machine working at its fastest speed for its maximum output, we realised was causing us to increase our wastage in scrap steel. So with a combination of slowing the machine down, it allowed us to reduce the overall scrap metal per sheet of steel by slowing it down and overall not negatively impacting on the output of that factory. So the combined total of our initiatives in our metals and fabrication division, we estimate it by year end to be 620 tonnes of CO2 emissions. 2020 is the second year of this programme. In addition to the solar programme, we've also had programmes of improving the roof insulation in our factories to retain the lower temperatures of the temperature-controlled environment, and that will have a direct impact on our energy consumption annually.
It's surprising to think that such a small change as slowing down a machine can actually save a lot of resources, a lot less waste, and a lot of energy not wasted as a result.
Yeah, and for
so
me,
really
it's even contradictory to traditional manufacturing that you actually want to make more pieces per minute, and just slowing it down actually makes sense from an economic point of view as well.
Yes.
Yep.
No, it's really encouraging.
Yep.
We didn't have time to play the long video, but the other thing that I liked about what John was saying when we met him was that the initiative came out from their own staff. It wasn't something that management was driving top down, but ETS really believes in empowering the staff. It's from the workers on the factory floor who can actually bring these ideas forward and say, hey, what about trying this?
That's even better.
Yeah. Yeah. Perhaps now it's a good time to announce the winner of the public voting.
Okay.
We had 700 votes in the mid-market category.
Wow.
And the company that got the most was Steelwood Industries.
Oh, fantastic. The one we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, so I think perhaps now is a good time to go to Steelwood Industries and their video.
Absolutely.
And find out what it was that the public liked so much about them.
Yep, great.
Steelwood Industries is a factory in Dubai that recycles waste wood from construction waste residuals. And it takes a mixed random species of wood into a one uniform board called SDB. SDB is a new type today that is a homogeneous wood with high mechanical properties that allows to replace all wood combined. It is today registered as a new wood type in APA, CPA in the United States of America. After receiving and labeling our product SDB as an eco-friendly product, a carbon footprint came into effect. So we wanted to take it into an economics of the carbon, and we approached the UNFCCC. Luckily, there was no methodology of post-consumer or waste wood recycling. So we had to engage into registering a new CDM with a project for wood recycling.
So clearly, Gazan is on a mission to save trees. He really wants to stop deforestation, which is a fantastic objective. Not an easy one, but certainly a very good one. So I think it's a good time to see what Tom and the jury have to say about the three companies in this mid-market category. So let's go and see that.
Fantastic.
We are going to have a little look at the mid-market category of this year's Living Business, brought to you by HSBC and Globally, who've come together to help UAE-based businesses to become more sustainable. They had to prove what they were doing, how they were doing it, and basically had to tick the boxes but also catch the eyes of the judges. Sabrine from HSBC and Sean from Alec have joined me here in the, I don't know what to call it really. I was going to call it the boutique or the boudoir or something, but it's more of it's a desk basically, isn't it, for our living business or little living business chat. Let's get a sort of macro picture on this whole thing first and foremost. Overall, we will head up the mid-market range in just a few moments' time, but in terms of the pictures overall, impressed by the standards and the level?
To be honest, yes, I was. I think it's always difficult to be in that sort of category where there are many challenges when it comes to prioritizing sustainability and ESG, owing to the fact that it might not be senior management priority. You may not have the funding required to make some of these changes. But all of the finalists actually demonstrated that they were investing, they were committed, and they had the support. And I think that really came out through the pictures.
It's a really interesting point that you bring up there, Sabrine, and Sean, just to get your thoughts on this as well. Because, yeah, I'm sure there's not a single company out there, whatever size they are, that is going to sit on camera and say that we're not making these efforts. But to get cash behind it, to push it forward, to bring, very traditional work methods and work approaches, to change those, that's the challenge, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think, it doesn't matter what size organization you're talking about, whether it's a small one or a big one, it's always difficult to get away from the day-to-day and invest the time and effort into thinking about these sorts of things. And I think in this sort of category, the medium, it's kind of a little bit more difficult because the smaller businesses, you're always going to have that, very, very small team, very close to the owner. And if they're onto it, they're going to do it. Bigger organization, you've got the money behind you. But in the middle, you're kind of very focused on the day-to-day. And I think it's tougher for them than the other two.
So let's dive into it. First up, we had Sam, Mr. Green Parking, which does exactly what it says on the tin.
I actually quite like it. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity for further innovation. I think, in the chat we had afterwards with the guys, we could definitely, I personally felt that there's a lot more that they're still going to do. They're not the only player on the market. It is a bit of a challenge for them because competition is difficult. They are trying to get involved with the electric vehicles as well and tap into that, which I think was quite clever. But that's going to take quite a lot of investment, I think, from their side. There's a lot to do to make that work. But overall, I really liked it because, like I say, I feel there's still a lot that they can do.
Sabrine, I mean, one thing that I've got to credit Sam with is the marketing, and he's obviously polished on that side of things. This is a slick brand. It's a slick operation by the looks of things. I'm just wondering about the scale and the scalability at the moment. I think he said that he had 50 spaces available at the moment, but we had to get that out of him after a while. It was a little bit of pushing to get the numbers. Yeah, huge potential, but I don't know if we'd expect to see more numbers already.
And I think that's one of the opportunities he has to ensure that he is able to market it as a convenience brand also in terms of, you know, if you were to use this product, it would save you time, perhaps money, and sanity. You know, as a mother of a small child, if I was able to pre-book a spot, I think that would be a huge advantage for me to use that product. So perhaps it's also thinking about the end consumer and how they could expand some of the brand promise that would really make it a lot more appealing to a wider audience and perhaps different generations as well.
Yeah. Talking of marketing, I want to move on to the next one if we can, because that was our friends from ETS. Just a quick reminder, you remember the guys that slowed down the machines to see a reduction in their scrap steel, to also see an improvement in their capabilities on the work floor as well. John Gomesh also joined us as well on the line for the presentation from ETS. It's interesting because we've just sort of talked about marketing, so I'm going to stick with you if I can, Sabrine, but get your thought on the marketing of this. Obviously, it has worked on the shop floor, for want of a better phrase, but is it working further afield? Is it impacting others?
So I think what really came out is that that's probably the next phase of the evolution of their sustainability or ESG focus. So I think they've realized that this works in practice, in theory, but now they need to really communicate that through the applications for tender processes, through the marketing of their product and their product promise, and the ethos of the company. So I think they have a huge opportunity ahead of them. It's just capitalizing on how to put it out there.
Sean, obviously a successful business to date. You talked about the fact that they've got multiple factories, they've got sizable workforce as well. I got the impression as well it's been in the family for a long time, the business as well, and with that comes very entrenched work policies and the old adage, if it ain't broke, why fix it? If it's going fast enough, why slow it down? I mean, it must have been a difficult policy to get across the line.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that struck me with ETS was it's a very traditional business, actually trying quite hard to do things a new way, which really appealed to me. And, you know, they had a sort of a two-pronged approach. Not only were they, you know, taking the time to do the study that slowing down their machines and reducing their waste was actually beneficial, they've also gone and invested in alternate power solutions. So they put in a solar plant, they've been doing some insulation to their factory to sort of, you know, increase their efficiency on usage of power and those sorts of things. And yeah, I mean, while they've got a way to go to sort of sell that, I mean, in a way that's the appeal because they're doing it even though it's not, you know, a marketing ploy. They're just trying to do something different and be better.
And an interesting one. Number 3 was steel wood, which when I heard the word first and foremost, or heard the title, the company name first and foremost, I was fascinated. Really interesting. Waste wood again, the second of the pictures for waste wood that we've seen throughout the afternoon. And a lot of thinking, a lot has gone into this as well. Ghassan was the man who we heard from in the video, and then of course the pitch. Sabrine, how did you break this one down?
I thought it was just so innovative, right? Taking scrap wood from construction, from the construction sector, and really turning it into something that could be used, that can be exported, and that can be applied across a lot of different uses. So I think, you know, just from a curiosity perspective, it was fascinating to see that we have such innovation coming out of this region. And I was almost a little saddened that we haven't managed to make, you know, more of a splash about it because it seems almost too good to be true. I mean, if it is that wonderful, we absolutely should make more use of, you know, out of it. And I think one of my fellow judges actually spoke about whether or not the construction sector could then recommission some of this material to be used in their projects. So it's, you know, if you look at circular economy, if you look at some of these processes that are really being championed globally, I think we have a huge opportunity with this organisation to really lead and pioneer some of that.
I'm glad you say that, because I don't feel so bad now, because there I was at the back of the room making notes going, this could be a good guest for the radio coming up in the weeks and the months to come as well. Tick that box.
Yeah.
So that's certainly something that I thought. And the other thing I thought as well, Sean, and I don't know if this struck you, was it was really nice to see a man who invented the product, financed the product, produces the product on a large scale already, obviously believes in it from every sinew in his body, and is just practicing what he preaches.
Yeah, I mean, hearing him talk about the time and the effort he's put in to convert this and to get the kind of classifications and those sorts of certifications in place that he's needed. I mean, it's been really difficult for him, but he's persevered, and I'd say he's done really, really well to stick with it, and the passion came through. I mean, I think he said it was since 1998 he's actually been, he first invented it and he's been developing it and trying to get it converted. I mean, that's ridiculous, and yeah, like you say, just too good to be true. I mean, again, being in the construction industry and actually being one of the parties that produces the waste he uses, and then understanding what he does with it, I'm really interested to find out more about this.
We're going to have results in just a few moments' time, so we're going to break away. Yeah, just got the thumbs up from the team. We can now cross over to the team to get the final results for this year's Living Business, brought to you by HSBC and globally. Mid-market category, 1, 2, 3. Let's find out.
So that was an interesting conversation, and again, Tom gave us the honor of announcing the winner. So we can start with the second runner-up, who was Green Parking. Good,
yes.
Good done for them.
Yeah. And the first runner-up was ETS.
Okay.
Which means the jury once again have agreed with the popular vote.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of alignment here. It's a bit scary. I wonder if this is going to continue in the corporate round as well.
It means that the public know what they're voting, no?
Yes, it certainly does. The
so
experts
congratulations
agree.
to Steelwood for winning in this category, and yeah, that's fantastic. Good.
So I guess now we should move on to the corporate category.
Yep,
and the first video in the corporate category is from TriStar.
Okay, let's listen to it.
TriStar is a company which started in 1998. It's a global integrated company which is actually spread out into 21 countries, into 5 different continents. And we are people who actually transport oil and lubricants all over the world.
So this year we have adopted the ESG framework, which stands for Environmental, Social and Governance. One of the initiatives that we have adopted as part of the ESG framework is to install solar panels on our rooftop in the THQ. So it's an 800 megawatt project, and through this we ensure that we are reducing our carbon emissions by 300 tons. The Sailors Society report shows that 26% of seafarers have depression, which is often overlooked. And therefore, in this year, we have introduced a helpline as well, which is a 24/7 confidential helpline for seafarers and all the crew out at sea, so that they can talk to experts and express their emotions and resolve all their conflicts and such.
So, good video, very good video, and the same as with wood floors, it's very good to see that they also have a focus on the social component. We were also supporting programs with Mission to Seafarers to support this important part of our community that a lot of times is forgotten. So we did that a few years ago. It's good to see that other companies are following and they are still doing it, especially for them working in the logistics sector. I think it's a very important topic to look into. And other aspects on mental health of them and other colleagues that they work for them and also from other companies is really, really important.
No, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. So who's next?
So TriStar, they weren't the only company to do an ESG strategy. We also worked with IFCO to develop their own comprehensive sustainability strategy.
Okay.
And they're next up, so I'm looking forward to hearing from them.
Okay.
What prompted us to develop this comprehensive sustainability strategy is because we believe in doing right and excellence. We have the 4 P's: people, planet, prosperity, and partnership. Specifically, we would like to be able to say that we have achieved 100% traceability to plantations for our refinery in Indonesia. This is very important for us because the refinery in Indonesia supplies around 50% of the palm oil demand within IFCO intercompanies. So making sure 100% traceability to plantation is one of the milestones for IFCO, as well as the solar project plan in Dubai will be also critical milestone that we are now also embarking into renewable energy and will be able to contribute to the reductions of the emissions.
So I like a lot I think IFCO has a big challenge, which is having a complex supply chain like many other big companies nowadays. So it's very good that they're putting the focus on that supply chain, and it's not an easy task when you have this kind of multi-country, multi-suppliers supply chain again. So it's very good to see that we from HSBC, we try to support clients as well on that journey. We have a few products that are supporting with economic incentives our clients to improve the sustainability across the whole supply chain, and we have a few examples already that are public. Anybody can just find them if you want. But let's go back to the living business. So
yeah, well, they weren't the only company to be doing some work with their suppliers and improving the sustainability of their supply chain. In fact, our next contestant, Fine Hygienic Holdings, has also got something to say about their suppliers and what they're doing with them. But they're doing very different things from IFCO.
Fantastic. Let's see.
Fine Hygienic Holding was founded in 1958. It's the largest wellness group in the world, and in MENA is the biggest paper manufacturer. We started manufacturing masks for two reasons. One was to create a resilient business, especially in a pandemic. You need a business that can survive and we need to ensure that our employees get their jobs are secure and paid. And second, because we wanted to help the community with a quality, sustainable product. So in developing the mask, one thing that was very important is to develop a reusable mask. And to ensure it's high quality and to ensure it actually does something that other masks cannot, and in effect protect you from coronavirus. We talked to a Swiss technology company called LivingGuard. We treated our material with this technology, and in effect the mask kills the virus up to 30 washes.
So I like Andrea's focus on the resilience of the business, of the core activity of the business, not only on the sustainability part, but how she links everything together. Because clearly only resilient businesses can actually work on ESG and succeed on it. So it's fantastic what they're doing. Who's next?
Next is Talex, a very different business, a big industrial aluminium extruder, and they've been doing a lot of work to reduce their waste or upcycle their waste. So let's see what they've been doing.
Let's watch out, Talex.
Talex is a state-of-the-art aluminium extrusion plant. Aluminium hydroxide sludge is I call it a side product. As in the past, we would have up to 500 tons of aluminum hydroxide sludge, which would go into landfill. So with the help of living business, we have now the possibility that we can bring this aluminum hydroxide sludge into the cement industry, where it helps to produce a much better quality of cement. The direct environmental impact is, of course, a reduction of up to 500 tons of landfill, which is quite significant. I mean, it's a big amount. It is absolutely a win-win for both industries, because we avoid landfill, so we avoid the impact on the environment, and the cement industry gets a better product out of it.
I think we're forgetting something here. What happened with the public voting before we go into the jurors and their decision? We need to announce what the public thinks.
Well, the public certainly expressed a very strong opinion in the corporate round. The voting happened last week, and we had 3,000 people register to vote and give their opinion on which of the 6 contenders is doing the most to create a sustainable future.
Okay. And that was?
One company managed to win over 1,200 votes for their sustainability strategy. That company was IFCO.
Wow, fantastic.
So IFCO have won the public voting.
Good job for them. Congratulations, IFCO.
So if the last two rounds are anything to go by, IFCO will also win the jurors voting. Okay. But let's go over to the jurors now and see.
Let's see what they think.
Yeah.
Let's talk us through the 4 entries into this particular category, and to see Sean, who came out on top for this living business process. I've been joined by Sean from ALEC and Jeremy from Yellow Door Energy. Fellas, thank you. Almost there. We're almost over the line. So it goes back to the question I asked a little earlier on about scalability for these organisations. And when I looked at some of these organisations that came to the party for the corporate category, I mean, there were some big companies there. And again, I suppose trying to get these policies across the line in companies like that, Jeremy, can take some doing.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I think you've got a big ship to steer some of these, right? And especially TriStar, of course.
Yeah.
But that making that change and changing the culture. It's interesting to see whether that was driven from the top, was driven from externally, and we heard a lot about different directions that people were taking to it.
Yeah, and Sean, again, I don't want to be too stereotypical about these things, but we saw a lot of big industry, coming here, traditional big industries, the sort of logistics, the concrete, aluminiums, they all came into the mix, and again, businesses that have been established in this part of the world for a long time, doing what they do very well. You're in that industry, you see it day to day. How difficult is it to have a sort of momentum or even like a policy shift in these companies?
Really difficult. I mean, these companies are big and they're interesting because if they do get behind the sustainability, the impact they can have is huge.
Yeah.
But getting that going is very, very difficult. I mean, it's got to come from the top. If you don't have C-suite buy-in, I mean, these things just don't convert. And then also, just by virtue of the size of the businesses, getting this thing to move and cascade properly. I mean, the size of the footprint of the business, I mean, that's what you kind of got to filter it down through. And I think that in itself, it's a huge undertaking. You really need a lot of effort behind it to get it to happen. So, I mean, kudos to these, they are some big businesses. And you can tell that, the board is fully behind this, or they wouldn't be where they are now in this discussion.
Well, I found just a quick memory jogger for those that are trying to remember what TriStar did. It was the solar panels policy, but more than that, it was the road safety, teaming up with the RTA, making sure that their drivers of large vehicles were trained to the highest of standards. But the one that really caught my imagination, Jeremy, and I don't know about you, was the seafarers, the plight of the seafarers, which again is, I suppose, by the very nature of seafarers, they're out there, at sea. We don't, out of sight, out of mind to a certain degree. But the efforts they've gone to, not just for their seafarers, but the industry as a whole, really struck me.
Absolutely. It seems like, and this is the first of the day where we saw this social impact, right? And that was great to see. The thought that they were had really started a movement with the Union of Seafarers, names escaping me exactly, that it started with their own impact, but then went beyond that is great, right? So that shows that this wasn't just an internal driven thing, but they were trying to have a positive impact in the world, which is fantastic.
Exactly that. That was TriStar. They were first up in front of the judges who cast their eager eyes over that pitch. Then we had IFCO. Again, not an insignificant company, pretty big one, in fact, and certainly one that has continued to grow. They pitched to us their 4 Ps, which we saw a lot of action, a lot of work, a lot of legwork as well for this one, because this was the first one that really took a very international perspective on what we've been looking at throughout the afternoon. Indonesia, Malaysia, the plight of the palm crops over there, the plight of palm oil as well, was all part of it. Jeremy, break this one down for me. Did it work for you?
Well, look, I think we're all well aware that the value chain for palm oil is one that has had a very negative impact on the world, and but it's a product we all need. And so what they were trying to do is solve this by putting in a sustainability throughout the value chain. And I felt that the effort was there. I think we felt that it maybe fell a little bit short in terms of third-party verification or some of the other aspects that we would have liked to see in that aspect. But there's certainly a strong effort, the tie-in from the board level, which, as we identified, is important for these big organizations. So, pluses and minuses. It was a good start.
I think Jeremy sort of hits the nail on the head there. It's a very difficult subject. I mean, palm oil, everybody's already really worried about it. It's a very important subject. I think the fact that the sources are in the areas that they're in, where, let's say, the view of compliance is quite different to what we might be used to. So I think they've got a real task on their hands. I think you can see the intent. They're definitely doing all the right things for the right reasons. It's going to take a lot of effort to get that right. But great that they actually are trying, because it's a very important subject in the world.
But it goes back to a point you made earlier about the fact that you've got to have buy-in from C-suite, you've got to have buy-in from the top. That was made very, very clear in this presentation, and the very commitment to the 4 Ps that they were talking about. I suppose we can't question that, and that is a move in the right direction.
It is, yeah. And I mean, what I liked about their approach is it is the pillars. They are attacking sustainability on multiple fronts. I mean, we're talking about the palm oil because it's kind of one of those things, but I mean, they're involved in loads of different things. But so I like the fact that they had quite a broad approach, and they were trying to sort of attack the sustainability issue on many fronts. And I think the strategy is right, the buy-in is there. I think they're going to do important things. But yeah, I'd say they've because of what they do and the magnitude of the business, I think it's going to take a lot of effort to convert.
And an interesting show of intent from the team at Fine as well. They talked a lot about virtual health, they talked a lot about wellness, they talked a lot about motivation of the team as well, but then went even further as well in terms of how their products could be more sustainable moving forward, which mainly created question marks for you all, correct?
Well, look, I think obviously Fine is one of the larger paper manufacturers in the region. I think this pivot towards wellness is very positive, right? And it certainly, as you said, ticks all the boxes in what we're looking for, and I think that's great. And I think there is clear intent that that's being driven by the CEO and his mission to transform the company. I think the other thing that was really exciting for them, for us as a team, or as a panel, was to understand how quickly they could make a change. This point about the big business, the idea that they could bring out a new product that was needed in 8 days was fantastic. That's something that they hadn't done before. They had maybe in the works, and they quickly accelerated and got it out because there was a need, and they met that. That's very promising.
Telex, to wrap things up, Christian joined us. Christian did the presentation. Christian joined us from his desk in his office as well for the call, for the Q&A. What did I write down here? Okay, Jeremy, I wrote down, one man's sludge is another man's precious metal, correct?
Well, yeah, what we saw is them diverting this nasty byproduct from a dump to something that could be valuable, and that's obviously economically beneficial for him, for his company, but it's also, we've got to assume that's a very nasty product, and if we can take that out of the dump, that's great. So from an environmental perspective, clearly that he's got the leadership drive for it, and he's obviously passionate. His demonstrations of what they do was kind of him for those who aren't familiar with extrusion. So I thought I saw it as a very positive message that he brought across about what he's trying to do to this very traditional business.
Clearly, a huge amount of investment has gone into this process already. And the fact that they've got, they can show you the fruits of their labour, the fruits of all that investment, really struck home to me that this thing is not a pipe dream. This is in the pipes.
Yeah, no, it's happening. And I mean, there's not a lot I can add to what Jeremy said, but I mean, just when we started off and you start talking about the word sludge, you just like, this just sounds terrible, But what was interesting is, it's their R&D team that's actually gone and said, what can we do with this stuff? Let's stop dumping it. Are there uses for it? They've gone out and, made contact with the cement industry, and they've pushed all of that. Even to the extent where they're not selling it to these guys to use as a product for cement, they are paying to give it to them.
Yeah.
So I think that commitment really came through strong. And then also, like Christian spoke about, some of the other innovations that they've got in the pipeline around taking other waste products and bringing it back into the manufacturing cycle as well to use it a second time. So they're clearly very focused on trying to eliminate this waste. And I think in today's world, it's actually quite easy to get rid of the waste. They could just be continuing to do that, but they're not. They really are trying to find ways to not impact the environment.
Just one last one for me on this, and I can't thank you boys enough for being with us throughout the afternoon. I think Christian gets my vote for the phrase of the afternoon because, we're not a million miles away from Christmas, the end of the year. It is a time of giving. You've got to spare a thought for others. And his phrase, give waste a chance, give it a second life, just really struck home to me at this time of year. I thought, wow, okay, good on you, Christian. Good on to you, Christian. Good on to all of those that have made their pitches in all of the three categories. And I can't thank our judges enough. We've heard from Sabrina and Michael a little earlier on, but these two men have given up their days and their times to bring their expertise to the fore. So to you, Sean and Jeremy, thank you very much indeed, fellas.
Thank you, it's been a pleasure.
That's almost it from us here. From the Living Business Studio, the Little Living Business Studio, over now to the Big Boy Studio to get the results, the final results, and find out who has been crowned the Living Business Champion, brought to you by Globally, HSBC, and of course our friends at Get in the Ring.
It looks like Tom is leaving it up to us to announce the corporate winners as well. Well, in the corporate category, the second runner-up was TriStar with their CSR to ESG sustainability strategy.
Okay, so the first runner-up was Fine Hygienic. That leads us to, who's the winner?
That leads us to the winner, and actually it was Talex.
Okay.
The jurors were very impressed by the real change that the company's making in terms of their waste management.
And for the first time, they don't agree with the public voting.
And they have not agreed with the public voting for the first time, indeed, yes.
Okay, it's good to have some variety here as well.
So over the last 3 weeks, we've been interacting with many different people and companies about the program, and a few questions. There's been some recurring questions, which we have a bit of time perhaps to answer now. I think the first question that people have is, well, is HSBC providing green finance to businesses?
Well, that's something that we usually get quite often, to be honest. Whenever we speak in events, public events, we always get this question. And the short answer is yes, but let me go around it a little bit. First of all, being part of the sustainability team, I don't get involved in the business decisions. We have a very clear red line that separates our philanthropic work from the business that has a commercial benefit for HSBC. So that's the first one. I don't get involved in that part, but of course I work in HSBC, so I hear things, and we also work with the businesses to help them find those sustainable finance opportunities. We do a lot of awareness sessions. We do a lot of training. We have participated, and we do in conversations with clients whenever the sustainability is the main topic, just to help them find that opportunity. But that's clearly separated from the philanthropic work that we do. But we do have, we supported when we started pushing the sustainable finance agenda a few years ago, we supported internally to create that kind of framework, that support framework that pushes the sustainable finance agenda for the businesses from a commercial opportunity forward. And to be honest, now with the strong support from the leadership that we have both in the region and globally, I can certainly say that we have a very large suite of products that are helping almost catering to any need from sustainable or finance with a sustainable angle for our clients. So yes, we do have from green bonds, sustainability-linked loans, green loans. We have all of those, and of course, the best thing that we can do in HSBC is tailor those opportunities and those products to specific clients because of the global network that we have.
So fantastic! It sounds like green finance is happening at HSBC.
It's growing.
Great news.
It's growing fast.
Really good. Really good. Really good. Another question which has come up, in fact we've already had 3 companies who've registered on our website, because we kept the registration open from earlier this year, who've recently registered for the 2021 programme that we haven't even announced. But people are asking about it, and they're asking what's happening. So what's happening from now, we're going to pull together all the lessons we've learned. This is the first year we've run the programme in the UAE, first time it's been run in the Middle East. We'll pull together the lessons we've learned from this year, look at how we can further accelerate and support the transformation that businesses are making to become more sustainable. And then hopefully by early January, we should be in a position to say what's happening in 2021.
Okay, and I hope we can support on that as well.
I'd hope so, that would be great.
Great. So there is another question that we wanted to put forward, and I think it's more appropriate that I ask you this question for a change. So there are a lot of competitions, programs around sustainability. It's like kind of the buzzword lately, over the last 2 years specifically. So how does the Living Business differentiate from other programs that are around, on accelerator programs or conferences happening about sustainability we have coming out? We have one coming up in January, a very big one. So what is this differentiating factor of the Living Business that you can tell us?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and it's very important we have a very clear answer. So, I mean, my answer to that question is it's about making change, driving change. To participate in the program, and I'm sure this will be the same in 2021 as it was in 2020, to participate in the program, companies must be doing something new and different in their business in 2020 or 2021 that's making them more sustainable, whether it's in the environmental area, the social area, or the governance area. And the program is really about facilitating them in making a change that they probably want to do anyway, but maybe they don't have enough resource, or they don't know quite how to get started. And the program is really about just nudging them to make the first steps, or make bigger steps. If they're already on that journey, maybe they can be making bigger steps, and maybe the program can help them do that.
Okay, that's fantastic news, and that's what we want to hear, of course, from our sustainability angle. We want to support programs that are actually driving change. So it's great to see that the Living Business is doing that, exactly, and let's see how we can take it forward. So I think we can close the session.
Yes, I think we've...
Thank you everyone for joining today. I hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did the whole day. It was a long day, but very enjoyable. And Keith, if you want to say a few words.
No, I think we've said it all, really. It's been a very exciting program. It's been fantastic to see so many companies making a real difference to their own sustainability or to the sustainability of the country. And I hope we're going to see even more of that next year.
Fantastic. Let's hope for that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.